You're lying in bed. The lights are off. The day is over, and out of nowhere, a memory surfaces. Something you said 3 years ago. A joke that didn't land. A sentence that came out wrong in a meeting. You cringe. Your face gets hot in the dark for no reason at all. You didn't ask your brain to do this. It just did. Why does this happen? Why does your mind keep opening a file you never asked to see again? Most people assume it's a personal flaw, a sign of anxiety or low self-esteem, or overthinking. But that explanation misses something important. This isn't a glitch. It's a feature. Your brain is running a program that helped your ancestors survive, and it doesn't know the meeting ended 2 years ago. It doesn't know the joke was forgotten by everyone except you. As far as your brain is concerned, this memory might still matter. So it keeps pulling it back up. Again. And again. To understand why, you have to go back further than you'd expect. Not to your last birthday. Not to high school. All the way back to a time when being disliked by your group wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous. For most of human history, you didn't survive alone. You survived because a group of people fed you, protected you, and included you. No lone human on the savannah was outrunning a predator by himself. No lone human was finding enough food, defending territory, and raising children without help. Survival was a team sport, and the team could vote you off. This is where the neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman's research becomes so revealing. Lieberman studied what happens in your brain during social rejection, and he found something almost unbelievable. The same brain region that lights up when you feel physical pain, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, also lights up when you feel socially excluded. Your brain doesn't just use a metaphor when it says rejection hurts. It processes social pain using the same circuitry as a broken bone. Think about what that means. Being embarrassed in front of your group wasn't a small inconvenience to your ancestors. To their nervous system, it registered as a threat to survival itself. And that old alarm system is still installed in you, running quietly in the background of every social interaction you have today. So when you replay that awkward comment from the office party, your brain isn't punishing you randomly. It's doing something it evolved to do very well. It's flagging a moment where your social standing might have been damaged, so you can learn from it and avoid repeating the mistake. It's rehearsal. Uncomfortable rehearsal, but rehearsal all the same. Here's where it gets more interesting. Why does the memory come back so many times instead of just once? This is where Daniel Kahneman's work on the mind's negativity bias offers an answer. Kahneman spent decades studying how people evaluate information, and one of his central findings is that bad experiences carry more psychological weight than good ones. A single criticism can outweigh 10 compliments. One awkward silence can overshadow an entire pleasant evening. This isn't because you're pessimistic. It's because, for your ancestors, missing a threat was far more costly than missing a reward. Failing to notice a predator could end your life. Failing to notice a delicious berry patch was just a missed opportunity. Over time, brains that paid extra attention to danger and social threat were the brains that survived to pass on their genes. Embarrassment, to your nervous system, looks like a social threat. So it gets stored with the emphasis of a fire alarm instead of the emphasis of a passing thought. That's why it echoes. Not because it was important in the way you think, but because your internal alarm system doesn't do subtlety. Now picture a modern moment. You're scrolling through your phone before sleep, and a memory surfaces. You stumbled over your words during a presentation. Nobody in that room remembers it. Statistically, most of them forgot within minutes. But your brain doesn't calculate probabilities of who's still thinking about it. It just replays the tape, scanning for damage control instructions that will never come, because the moment already ended. This is where the work of anthropologist Robin Dunbar adds another layer. Dunbar has spent his career studying why humans develop such large, socially complex brains in the first place. His research suggests that human intelligence evolved largely to manage relationships, keeping track of who owes you a favor, who might gossip about you, who is trustworthy, and who isn't. In the small ancestral groups of maybe 50 to 150 people, a single moment of humiliation could travel through the entire group by the next morning, and your reputation was the closest thing you had to a safety net. Everyone would know. Everyone would remember. So your brain evolved to treat reputation as something worth managing an audience of strangers on the internet. They were managing a tight, permanent circle of people they would see every single day for the rest of their lives. In that world, obsessively reviewing a social mistake wasn't neurotic. It was smart. It was how you made sure you didn't make the same mistake twice in front of people whose opinion of you actually determined your future. Here's the twist your brain hasn't caught up to. You now live in a world of thousands of loose, temporary connections instead of one small, permanent tribe. The barista who saw your trip probably won't remember your face tomorrow. The coworker who heard your voice crack in a meeting has already moved on to worrying about their own embarrassing moment. But your brain still behaves as if you're back in a village of 150 people, where every mistake is permanent public record. There's also a hidden mechanism running underneath all of this, and it has a name. Psychologists call it rumination, the tendency to replay a negative event over and over without reaching a resolution. It feels like problem solving. It feels productive. But most of the time, it isn't. Your brain believes that if it just reviews the moment one more time, it will finally find the missing piece, the perfect thing you should have said instead. Except there is no missing piece. The moment is over. The tape keeps playing anyway, because the ancient system behind it was built for a world where reviewing danger actually helped you prepare for the next encounter with the same people the very next day. Consider what happens physically when this replay begins. Your heart rate can climb, just slightly. Your stomach can tighten. Your shoulders can rise toward your ears. This is not your imagination being dramatic. This is your stress response system, the same one that once prepared your ancestors to freeze, fight, or flee from a real threat, activating for a memory that cannot hurt you anymore. Robert Sapolsky, the neuroscientist known for studying stress in primates, has shown that this system was never designed for imagined or remembered threats running on a loop. It was designed for a lion in the grass, a threat with a clear beginning and a clear end. Your brain, unfortunately, cannot always tell the difference between a real lion and a remembered awkward silence. So what does this explain about your own life? It explains why you can recover from physical injuries faster than you recover from social ones. It explains why a single awkward text message can occupy more of your mental energy than an entire productive day. It explains why, deep down, some part of you still checks how people are reacting to you in real time, scanning faces, monitoring tone, waiting for signs of approval or rejection. You're not being insecure. You're running very old software that once kept your ancestors alive. Here's the counterintuitive part. That same replaying instinct, uncomfortable as it feels, is also a form of social intelligence. People who never think back on their mistakes tend to repeat them. People who reflect, even painfully, tend to adjust their behavior and build better relationships over time. The psychologist Jonathan Haidt has written about how much of human morality and social behavior is guided by intuitive, emotional reactions rather than pure logic, precisely because those fast emotional signals once kept our ancestors cooperating successfully inside their groups. Discomfort after a social misstep isn't a malfunction. It's your intuition doing its job, just a little too loudly for the modern world. There is a difference, though, between useful reflection and useless replay, and learning to tell them apart changes everything. Useful reflection asks a simple question, and then lets go. What can you actually learn here? Useless replay asks the same question 100 times and never lets go, because it isn't really searching for an answer anymore. It's searching for the safety of certainty in a situation that will never feel perfectly resolved. Recognizing which one you're doing is often enough to interrupt the loop. So the goal isn't to silence the instinct completely. It's to recognize it for what it actually is. The next time an old cringeworthy memory surfaces uninvited, you can notice the alarm bell for what it is. An ancient reputation protection system firing in a world that no longer requires that level of vigilance. You can thank it, quietly, for trying to protect you. And then, you can let it go, because the tribe that used to remember everything forever doesn't exist anymore. Most people forgot within the hour. Most people were too busy replaying their own embarrassing moments to notice yours. Now think back to that moment in bed, the lights off. It's a sign the memory something very old inside you is still working exactly as designed, still trying to protect the version of you that lived in a tiny village thousands of years ago, still convinced that everyone is watching, still convinced that your survival depends on being remembered the right way. You are not broken. You are ancient. And once you understand that, the memory loses a little of its power, because you finally know exactly why it came back and exactly who it was really trying to protect.